Today's video, we're gonna learn how to solve the sides and the angles of a triangle using the sine law. So first of all, what is the sine law? Sine law is a law stating that the ratio of a side of a plane triangle to the sine of the opposite angle is the same for all three sides. So let's have an example to widen our understandings. So the formula for sine law is small letter a over sine big letter A is equal to small letter b over sine big letter B and small letter c over sine big letter C. The big letters represents the angle of the triangle. So in this side, we have the big letter A, and the line in which that angle forms is its lowercase. In this case, it's the small letter a. Here's another angle, big letter B, and the line in which that angle forms is its lowercase small letter b. So that small letter b represents the length of that side. Another angle, big letter C, and the line that angle forms is its lowercase small letter c. So always keep in mind that uppercase letter represents the angle and lowercase letter represents the length of the sides. So the first step to solve using the sine law is to first find a pair. A pair in which the uppercase and the lowercase are present. It may be the A's, the B's, or the C's. Just make sure that it has its pair. So let's have an example. Let's say one of its angles is 45 degrees and the length of the line in which that angle creates is 5. And one of its sides is 3. So the first step in solving this triangle is to find its pair. So we have a pair, the 45 degrees and the 5. Now for the second step is to find a missing pair, and in this case it's the 3. So it's missing its angle. So since you find the missing pair, now that's the first one we need to solve, the missing one. So let's try some examples. Let's say we have a triangle and one of its angle is 45 degrees and one of its side length is 8, and also one of its side length is 5. So the first step to solve is to find a pair. So as we can see, the pair is the 45 degrees and the 8. And step 2 is find a missing pair. So in this case, it's the 5 and its missing pair. Let's call it angle X. Let's use the formula to solve this one. The small letters represent the sides and the big letters represent their corresponding angles. So let's make the small letter A the 8 and the big letter A the 45 degrees. So sine 45 degrees is equal to the small letter B, which is the 5 because that is the side length, and its corresponding angle, the X. So sine X. So to solve for this one, we need to cross multiply the sine X to the 8 and the sine 45 degrees to the 5. So therefore, 8 sine X is equal to 5 sine 45 degrees. So let's get rid of the 8 by dividing it both sides. So sine x is equal to 5 sine 45 degrees over 8. And in order to solve the angle x, we need to transpose the sine to the other side. So therefore, it will become x is equal to inverse sine, or what you call the arc sine, times 5 sine 45 degrees over 8. So you plug it in the calculator, and therefore, the angle x is equal to 26.23 degrees. So now we have two angles, and to solve for the last one, we need to remember that the sum of all the angles of a triangle is equal to 180 degrees. To solve for that angle, let's just subtract the two angles to the 180 degrees. So 180 degrees minus 26.23 degrees minus 45 degrees. So therefore, that angle that is missing is equal to 108.77 degrees. The drawing might not be accurate, but at least the values are correct. Now, we have already two pairs and one missing pair. So in order to solve for that missing pair, or the length, we can either use the two pairs, but in this case, let's use this pair, the 5 and the 26.23 degrees. So 5 over sine 26.23 degrees is equal to the missing length. Let's call it the x over sine 108.77 degrees. So same method, you cross multiply the sine 108 degrees to the 5. So it will be x is equal to 5 sine 108.77 degrees over sine 26.23 degrees. Therefore, the length that is missing, or the x, is equal to 10.7. To check our answer, let's try to use the other pair, the 8 and the 45 degrees. So 8 over sine 45 degrees is equal to x over sine 108.77 degrees. Then you cross multiply sine 108.77 degrees to the 8. So x is equal to 8 sine 108.77 degrees over sine 45 degrees. Therefore, x is equal to 10.7. We still got the same answer. Let's try another example. So let's say we have a triangle with one of its angle measures 45 degrees and the other 70 degrees, and one of its length is 7. So we know that the sum of all the angles of a triangle is equal to 180 degrees. So what we're going to do is to subtract these two angles to 180 degrees. So 180 minus 70 degrees minus 45 degrees. Therefore, the missing angle is 65 degrees. And now to solve, let's first find a pair. So the pair is 70 degrees and 7. And next is to find a missing pair. So the missing pair are the 65 and 45 degrees. So both of them missing its pair. So in this case, let's try to solve for the pair of 65 degrees. Let's call it the x. So 7 over sine 70 degrees is equal to x over its angle, 65 degrees. So sine 65 degrees. So you cross multiply the sine 65 degrees to the 7. X is equal to 7 sine 65 degrees over sine 70 degrees. Therefore, x is equal to 6.75. So the 45 degrees is the only one that's missing its pair. And let's solve it by using this pair, 65 degrees and 6.75. Let's call the missing one x. So 6.75 over its angle, 65 degrees, so sine 65 degrees is equal to the missing one, x, over its angle, sine 45 degrees. So you cross multiply the sine 45 degrees to the 6.75. Therefore, x is equal to 6.75 times sine 45 degrees over sine 65 degrees. So therefore, the value of the x is 5.27. To check if we got the right answer, let's try to use the other pair, the 70 degrees and the 7. So 7 over sine 70 degrees is equal to the x, or the missing side, over its angle, sine 45 degrees. So you cross multiply the sine 45 degrees once again. So x is equal to 7 sine 45 degrees over sine 70 degrees. So therefore, x is equal to 5.27. Yet, we still arrive at the same answer. And that's today's video is all about.